I sat down with a notebook and I was like, I'm going to meditate by counting down from 100, which was a new type of meditation that I heard about. You can 100, 99, 98. So I'm like, and I'm going to do this with the intention of contacting the Fae because I'm bored and weird. Okay. So I sit down and do it and I'm like 100, 99, da 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 da. And then the plan was to write a poem to see if they would like want to write with me. Okay. I get to one and then I'm like, do I go back to two or do I go to zero? So I went zero. Somebody threw a sippy cup, like slammed it in the bathroom, like 10 feet from I was in the bedroom. This was in the upstairs bathroom. They threw a sippy cup really hard against the floor. And this sippy cup was up on the cupboard, like with a ledge that was like protecting it from tipping over. Like this was like in the timing. I'm like, I'm going to contact the Fae. I'm going to count down from 100. And they're like, well, when this bitch gets to one, we're going to throw her shit in her bathroom.
Yes, and many children see them too. About 75% of the world's children today are being born with etheric vision. And when your children talk with people and have daydream playmates, the chances are they are actually speaking to some of these people. Because these angels or angelic forces or nature spirits, as they're often called, will often make themselves seen.
And all of a sudden I hear him go, whoa, or, something like that. So I look up. And as I look up, I see this thing.
And I said, I've never seen a butterfly like you before.
I know that the paranormal is real. Listen.
As soon as I spoke to it, it turns around and makes eye contact with me. And then it stands upright.
And it was at that moment that I saw it was like an orange light appear above this row of trees. And from this sort of orange light, this thing appeared. Its wings were actually like sycamore leaf shaped.
And I started talking to them. I'm like, hi, are y'all the dwarves? And I would hear whispers that would say, hi, yeah, you want to play? And it wasn't just my imagination. And I had told them, I'm like, my dwarves, they like beer, And my dad's like, yeah, sure, your dwarves like beer. And they were holding a conversation, and his beer slid upwards instead of downwards, how the house was tilted. And him and my brothers jumped up.
So I stopped calling out Adam, and I'm just my mind draws a blank, and I stop behind that tree stump. I'm pretty close to it now because I took a few steps forward, and I see this thing.
Welcome everybody tonight to Fascinating Fae. Tonight, we're traveling to Iowa to talk with Ruby. Ruby, how are things going in Iowa tonight?
Oh, they're beautiful. We're right between Christmas and New Year's, so it's the liminal vibes. How are things for you in Costa Rica?
Costa Rica's not so bad today. Pretty much every day is not so bad here. But I shouldn't get into that because I'm just going to make everybody super jealous who's in the snow right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's good here. Thanks for asking. Well, Ruby, for those that might not know, this is your second appearance here on the show, so welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. A lot has happened. So it's been a wild ride. I have 6 pages of notes and we can't get through them all. So we're going to just pick some highlights.
Well, par for the course, strange technical difficulties preceding this conversation, and you just had a fun little EVP when you said, thank you for being welcomed back. Ruby, I'm going to take, 1 minute and I'm going to do my introduction to the show so that anybody who's dropping in here for the first time feels at home. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here on Fascinating Fae, we are not here to convince anybody of anything. Why is that a rule? It's because trying to talk about the fairy phenomenon is kind of top-loaded with disbelief and ridicule to begin with, and the nature of the actual experiences is so much like more real and different than people understand when they think about fairies, because they think about it from a fantasy perspective largely. So it's just enough to tell me what happened, and there's no pressure to convince anybody that this really happened. It's just too impossible to do. For the uninitiated and those that haven't had experiences, they'll never really understand.
Yeah.
I think the second thing that I always say is it's brave to come on the show. And more as I get into this process, I think it's brave to come on the show. I do think that talking about these intuitions, experiences, connections, real life events, like so many parts of this phenomena are, as I just aforementioned, extremely difficult to believe, which makes it brave to come on and talk about these truths, because most people are not going to take it seriously, and that can be really isolating. So it's brave to come on. It's brave to come back, especially. And so I do appreciate you coming back. I'm really actually very excited because, you know, low key, you definitely hold, you know, one of those records in my heart as one of my favorite episodes from season 1.
Oh, thank you.
True that. I mean it sincerely. Sometimes I feel like I could say that just about every episode. They're all pretty unique and interesting in their own right. But yeah, yours was an exciting one, and it finished off the season. So it always kind of stands out in my mind.
It was weird to not like see. I had to listen to 6 episodes, and then when I listened to it all, I was laughing so much. I was like, "Oh my God."
When you actually like kick back and roll a fatty and, you know, binge, you know, the core of it, it's like it's one big episode. It's not just a bunch of individual ones.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, well, you're kind of a character in it, so that's funny.
Well,
Like that.
for better or for worse, I guess.
Whether you like it or not.
I definitely am not trying to hide what I think is happening. Let's just put it that way. So, and I mean, at the exact same time, I could just be delusional. Maybe that's part of the fun for some people listening. Who knows? But the real purpose of the show, as we all know, is to collect fairy encounter stories so that we can collectively analyze them and, you know, weigh them against our own lived experiences for understanding, essentially. For that reason, the last thing I always say when I start off these episodes is that I like to let my guests have as much of the mic as possible, but you've told me that you would like me to jump in a little bit more, so I will do that for you here today. Generally speaking, though, I zip it and let my guests, you know, take me down the rabbit hole with them into their own experiences and understanding. So that's my intro. Welcome back. And with all that said, let's do this. Ruby, if you'd be so kind here on this twilight evening in Iowa, just before the new year commences, just take myself and the audience into what you've come here to chat about tonight, please.
Yeah. Yes. So there's a few points I want to hit up, and I'm just going to give some bullet points so that I don't forget. I would like to talk about the portal and the horde. And then I'd like to talk about becoming kind of friends with different fae, including Lucy, the neighbors, including the flirty dad. Okay. And then there's been a few guides that have protected me in the workplace and helped me a lot. And I think if I do those things, that will cover the best highlights that I have. Okay. So basically, for anybody who didn't listen to the last season, you should. Hello, why are you listening to season 2? I'm episode 51 of season 1, and in that episode, I talked about seeing visions when I just wake up from sleep. And I usually roll over in bed, close my eyes again, and now it's gotten to the point where I'm like, is anybody there? And that's when they show up. The previous episode 51 involved physical evidence of a plate being moved by this horned guy who looked like Peter Pan, and he ended up trying to help save my son from a medical emergency. Anyway, we became friends. But in the now about year since we last recorded, um, I realized, as I said, if I said, "Is anyone there?" they appear because I know the feeling when they're around. And I've heard you talk about it, that there's this feeling of like nausea, kind of like a little dizziness feeling, and a little like riding a roller coaster where you're like "Ugh," the stomach dropping feeling. So I know when they're there. And like sometimes I'll be like, is there anyone around? And like no one shows up and I'm kind of sad. But yeah, so in general, like one time I got a little tipsy and I ended up this girl just kept asking me questions, and she's like, "How do you do tarot?" Da, 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 da. And then finally I find myself talking about fairies, and she's interested. She's not judging me or whatever. That night I go to sleep and I told her, I'm like, "They like you." Okay. I go to sleep that night and I see probably 50 fairies, and they are hysterically laughing. They're so happy. They're just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. They look like little pixies, Brian Froud pixies. And I realized that they really liked me talking about them. So that kind of put me on. I started writing poetry, and I started dedicating my poetry to them, and that's when they would show up more and more. So before I get into my friend Lucy, I'll talk to you about first of all, the general beings that I have seen, and then I'll get into the portal. So I've seen different types of fae. The most common is the pixie type that are like the Brian Froud kind of drawings, where they have the little caps and squinted, smiling eyes, almost Asian-y eyes, extremely giggly. I've even heard high-pitched giggling like in my hallway before. And I mean, I did go on YouTube and like listen to every like squirrel like audio file, trying to figure out like what was that. Okay, so I've seen the Brian Froud pixies. I've seen hamster looking like critter types, like the 90s kids books called Critters. I've seen them. I've seen these creatures that look like Pokemon and like Hieronymus Bosch, kind of monstery looking. I've seen a pig twice. Not sure. Oh, also, I found in Brian Froud's book there is a pig fairy, and I was like, "That's what I saw." I've also seen kids' drawings of like if a kid drew a dragon with like zigzag teeth. This goofy alligator-looking guy, like he pretended to vomit, took his head off, and put it back on. I've seen insects, horses, and like a deer man. Okay, so that's not even all of them, but that's what I have written down here. Okay. The portal
Wait, I'm jumping
was,
in.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Please jump in.
Here's me jumping in, like I said.
Yeah.
This is so hard for me because I just want to let you keep going, but I promised you I'd jump in.
I know. Well, yeah. Okay.
Dear man, there's this
Yeah.
Gwyn Agnip character, King of the Fae. A lot of times he's
Oh.
kind of depicted as a stag-headed man or a man with deer antlers. Well, get into what you saw there a little bit more detail. I'm curious.
Oh God, that was like 11 months ago. So I'm like, I don't know. I just wrote that he liked the gingerbread cookies I had made. They were like molasses gingerbread cookies, homemade, uh, and that the deer man appeared and liked them. And it's so hard. I have hundreds of hours of my video diary of my fairy encounters, of me describing them. And I need to be better about writing down the date so that I can find it again. But it was like a statuesque looking guy. Like, if I remember, it was a regal looking guy with a deer head and a man body. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what's what with like how they actually look beyond the one I definitely saw with my eyes. And I don't think like
You saw that with your eyes?
No, I'm talking about my visual sighting in 2019 of my purple pixie.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, oh my God.
That's the only one I actually know what they look like. This entity that does give me that fucking like, going over the fucking part of the roller coaster when it's about to get fun. That one, there's a tone to it that's gritty. I cannot describe it any other way. And I know that's Grimble Grumble. And what Julia and I saw, like in the mountain house, the Villa Paz house, we call it, is it was so surreal. Like we were So it's just interesting. This is all to just kind of ask you in a second how you're seeing them again, so that the audience can understand your process. But I'll just tell you like what we saw, just to kind of tell you what it looks like when I see them with my eyes. Anyway, we were in the room, and the way that the room was set up is there's kind of a bed against the wall, and then the bed is looking out two big sliding glass windows like a patio, and in front of the window is a chair, and I'm sitting in the chair looking towards the bed, and Julia's like sitting on the bed looking out over my, over my shoulder to outside. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the room is dark. We don't have any lights on, and we're sitting there. And at that moment, we were talking specifically about like Fairies, Fae, the show. Like we were having like a pretty like breakthrough conversation for her and I about the subject matter, because weird stuff had happened in the house in the preceding weeks, right? And so I'm saying to her, like, when they're around, you can kind of feel it. And then so I'm looking at her and she's looking at me. So I'm watching her face as she's looking at me. And as I'm just sort of casually chatting about this, I just watch her eyes get as big as pancakes. It was like a cartoon. It was literally like a cartoon. I just watched her eyes get so big, and the look on her face just got so astonished. And I said, what? And then as soon as my brain like registered her facial expression and said the word "what," I felt it. I knew it was right beside me. I could feel it immediately.
Yeah.
And I said, and I didn't look away from her at all. I just looked right in her eyes and I said, "What do you see, Julia? Tell me what you see." And she's like, "There's something right there." And I said, "What does it look?" Oh fuck, I'm getting goosebumps now. It's funny. I said, "What does it look like? What does it look like?" And she's like, she's looking at it and she's like, no, it's a reflection. I'm wrong. And I said, "Are you sure?" Because there's no light on in the room. There's nothing. There's no light on in the corresponding kitchen. And she's now like turning her head around and looking towards the bedroom's bathroom, which is just on the right at the bottom of the bed. Yeah. The doorway. There's no lights on in there. And I can see the process in her head, which is like she's looking for a source for this orb that is in the glass. And she does this back, and she's looking, and now her eyes are doubly wide because she realized there's no fucking reflection. And she's kind of real time. She's like, I'm like, "What do you see? Tell me." She's like, "It's like a light." She's like, "No, that's a reflection." And she looks back and she's like, "No, that's not a reflection." And now her eyes are even bigger. And then I just feel it like go from my right-hand side where I'm sitting. And again, I haven't looked at it yet. I can just fucking feel it there.
Do you feel like a warmth, like a radiation thing?
No,
like
I felt a drop in temperature substantially, and a tingly feeling as well. And I feel it leave my right side and go across the room over to her. And I said, "It's coming over to you." And then the most incredible thing happened, which is it touched her. And her entire right side of her body, because it had touched her leg was kind of dangling off the bed, lit up in goosebumps, but not her left-hand side. And then I said, "It's touching you." And then it touched her on the left-hand side. And then I am not exaggerating. The hair on Julia's head stood up like you touch a plasma ball at Science World.
Science Club. Yeah.
I am not fucking joking. I've never seen goosebumps come over somebody with that level of intensity. Like, especially in the nape of her neck, it looked like her whole back of her head like poofed out. It was really, really fucking interesting.
And you took a selfie, of course.
Well, no.
I'm just kidding.
So then that's all happening, and she's like actually like not okay with it. She's like, "What is," like a little bit like, "What is this?" Like, and like scared. And she's like, "Make it stop, make it stop." And I'm telling her, I am not in control of this interaction. And then it kind of stops fucking with her, and it comes now back over towards me to my left. And then same thing. I watch her eyes get wide as fucking sausages again. And she's like, and I just, without even like, this entire time I've just been looking at her, I just say to her, "It's right here, isn't it?" And I point to my left. And she's like, how do you know? And I telling her, I can fucking feel it. It's right there.
But could she see it while you were feeling it?
Yes, she was visually seeing it.
Could you see it?
Yes, and then
Could you see it?
Then I
Okay.
turned and I looked, and it was a briefcase-sized and shaped. This is really key. It was not a circular orb. This thing was diffuse, but it was like the shape of a briefcase. It was rectangular. And the briefcase orientation would be one side is facing the ground and the other side is up. So it wasn't horizontal like you would carry a briefcase. It was like on its side, like like a rectangular shape, and
Weird.
about 2.5 feet total height. And it looked like, it's so interesting because when I talked to Terry, I think he's right. It kind of looks like a rainbow hue. And it was evocative of the thing I saw, but it was much more diffuse. And it just looked like a sort of unarticulated square rectangular-ish energy body. And the coloration was like light white and blue, but it's clear as fucking day. It was on my left-hand side, and it was sort of like on the glass. And then it went out. We watched it go through the glass, and then we could see it on the balcony. And it went,
Wow.
This is so funny what it does next. It goes out, and then the way the room is, this is the corner of the house. And so this window is at my back, and to my left is another openable window that, is next to the AC. And it goes out, it comes around the corner, and it comes back in through the opposing window. And when it came in through, we saw it approach, we saw it go through the glass, and then it touched her again. And at this point, I'm like laughing, like, this is putting on a show for Julia. That all, kind of finishes and resolves. And as I mentioned previously in the show, the next morning when we woke up, the alarm was disengaged and the door was open, which I still can't get my head around. And many more strange things happened that evening. There was a large stray bull, a black bull, with horns that appeared in the... I know, because we were at the top of a mountain adjacent to cattle ranch. And that evening, there was a huge storm there after this event. And there was, I think in part because the door had been opened, I hear this loud sound that I thought was like a fucking dinosaur or a Sasquatch or something. And it was just like this deep, horrendously deep bellow. And I woke up and I looked out, and in the driveway was this huge black steer with like big horns, like a male cow. And it was bellowing. It was like in the middle of this storm, standing alone in the driveway.
Fairies are real. No.
Well, if fairies are real, fucking true that. And then I hear I've hijacked your fucking episode. I'm so sorry. This is funny.
No, the bowl is fun.
Well, I'm trying to like do the thing you asked and just jump in, but I'll finish quickly.
Yeah.
Here. So this bull happens, like, and there was so many fucking things that night. So at one point, this lightning storm has knocked out the power, and Julia comes, like, because we sleep in separate rooms because I have my so much pain in my body. I sleep alone basically, and she comes in and she's like, there's something in the house. And I'm like, what do you mean there's something in the house? And she's like, I went to go take a pee and there's all these footprints, all wet footprints all over the house. And I'm like, she was so scared because like earlier she had seen a fairy and one had touched her, and then all the power goes out, and
in the same day,
all of the same, like in the same event, I would actually argue.
Wow.
And so I
can't even take a piss.
I'm not joking. I'm such a fucking like bad man. I was terrified. I was like, okay, just come in the room and lock the door. Like no one's going out there for the rest of the night. At one point, we're both kind of like twilight passing out, and I say to her, okay, Julia, like I'm in a lot of pain, like you need to go back to your bed, like, and she's
go
like,
back to the bowl. No.
Go back to see. And so she goes outside and she's using her phone flashlight because the power's still out, and she's like, it was like a scene from a horror movie, jump scares here and there. She's like, oh my god, the footprints are going, like the footprints had gone from the side door at the back into her bedroom in a semicircle around her
Oh
bed,
my God.
back out into the kitchen over towards my bedroom door. And
Oh
these
my
are like
God.
wet and slightly dirty, smaller and
Smaller
long
humanoid.
looking
Oh,
footprints.
okay.
So there's that,
Oh
which
my
again,
God.
I think those are footprints left by Grimble Grumble because he was in the house, like that was clear, right? And so I think he then opened the door and let himself out, or figuratively opened the door and turned off the alarm just to flex another time.
He's like wants to check out your lady,
I
you
just
know.
think it was a watershed moment for Julia's understanding of who she moved to Costa Rica to
Yeah.
be with. Let's just put it that
Yeah. It's like,
way.
just let her know. Just let her know.
It's one thing to listen to a dude talk about fairies, and then it's another thing entirely to realize he's actually talking about the truth.
Well, no, like I've been hearing like footprints in my hallway sometimes, and I'm just like, did I hear that? And I don't get out of bed and look, but I'm thinking about that's not a squirrel.
those
That's not a tree
giggles,
branch.
those giggles you're hearing
The
are
giggles.
probably your Brian Froud pixies. Okay, so anyway, that was a good hijack. Now let's get back onto your
Yeah, no, I
thing.
love a good hijack. Well, because we were talking about how I saw
How do you see
the
them?
deer
Yeah,
man.
is this all in your waking, just prior to waking?
Yeah,
How? Tell me.
yeah. So of course it's always when I have to pee. That's how I wake up. And then I'm like, oh, I have to pee, but is anyone here? And like then I see them kind of like a photo developing in a dark room, and it's always fuckers' faces are up against the glass and their hands are on the window pane and they're like, hello. Like they're right in my face. And they're always delighted to see me and like giggling and just like showing off morphine. Sometimes they're showing me like symbols and stuff. Like this morning, this little guy was showing me like a jar, and I'm like, is that a jar of honey? Like, what is that? And then my daughter like came in and started talking to me, and I had to open my eyes. Still no idea what I saw. Oh, also another development of seeing these guys is oh my God, because I have kids, my daughter is like starting to get potty trained now and stuff. She doesn't have a crib. She can get out of bed, which is why she's getting up at like 3 in the morning and just like wants to hang out. So she gets up to pee, and I'm in like the brainwave state where I'm like, oh my God, I'm awake, but I cannot get up right now. And I can hear her going to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, please just do it all by yourself. Please, like I can't move right now. And then I'm like, oh my God, I felt the feeling. And I go, is anybody here? The horde shows up. They're watching her pee. And it's like a stadium full of the most like people are watching like the most exciting sports event of their lives. And they're like on the edge of their seats. They're like, go, go, go. Like they're rooting for her to pee. And then when she finally, like, pees and, like, flushes, like, pulls up, like, her pull-up or whatever, they're all, like, jumping up and down clapping, and I'm like, they were, like, so happy for her that she could pee by herself, and I'm like, "Wow." They can see my family. Another time, so my husband was, like, asleep on the couch downstairs, and he was coming up the stairs to come to bed, and this is where I'm like, are they me or are we intimately linked or whatever? Because my thought is always like, don't wake the kids, like tiptoe up those stairs, like quiet, right? So I see this fairy looking at me right up in my face. His head is shaped like a block, like a cylindrical cylinder, a block-headed guy, okay? And he's looking at me. He hears my husband coming up the stairs. He turns his head and he looks, and then he takes his finger to his lips and he shushes him. Shh. And I'm like, "What?" So they can see my family, like, not just me. And then another time, we're in Colorado, and of course, me being the weirdo that I am, I go out on the deck of this little cabin and I go up to this pine tree and I'm like, hey, it's me, like Ruby. I'm the girl that can like see you guys. If anybody wants to come say hi tonight, that'd be cool. You don't have to, but feel free. That night I come to, and of course, my kids, I have twins, they were in playpens at the time. I see these mountain trolls and they look like boulders. They literally look like they're made out of rocks. and they were like a grandfather and a grandmother, and they were like peeking over the playpens. And these are my children. Like, shouldn't I be like afraid? Like, hello, listen to episode 51 where I was afraid for my baby. Like, and then I got over it because I realized that they're friends. It was a grandfather and a grandmother, mountain trolls, looking at my children with curiosity and love. And then I saw them and I was like, hey, wow, cool. Like, I'm so glad you're here. Like, and then I just wake up and just hang out with my family and act like it didn't happen. But when they're moving things around your house and they're introducing themselves, then you realize you're not dreaming. Like, I was awake. Like, so those are some notable like experiences seeing them. And then the portal, I started feeling with when the portal is around, they basically, it looks like a spiral. It looks like a puddle. Okay. And then when the Fae are like looking at me and stuff, they're 3D and they're like usually giggling and whatever. And then when it's time for them to leave, they become flat, 2-dimensional, almost like someone took a Polaroid photo of them. And then they get flushed down a toilet. They freeze frame and then they spiral down into this little spiral and they just disappear. So I think they're becoming 2D when they cross over through the portal. And then that gets into, I was later told that the portal is inside of me. And I can tell you all about that, deep dive of that later, of what that means and who showed me that. It was this warrior guy. So those are some sightings.
Let's dig into the portal a little bit more, how it's coming from within you. But just a quick side note, mostly for the audience listening, because you already know this very well. It can be a lot to listen to Ruby talk about these multiple sightings until you remember.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. Until you remember that your initial initiation into vision was followed by all these physical confirmations in your home that defy logic, which affirms that your vision initially was real.
Like, can I interrupt you really quick? That one time I said, because I'm a poet, I sat down with a notebook and I was like, I'm going to meditate by counting down from 100, which was a new type of meditation that I heard about. You can 100, 99, 98. So I'm like, and I'm going to do this with the intention of contacting the Fae because I'm bored and weird. Okay. So I sit down and do it and I'm like 100, 99, da 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 da. And then the plan was to write a poem to see if they would like want to write with me. Okay. I get to 1 and then I'm like, do I go back to 2 or do I go to 0? So I went 0. Somebody threw a sippy cup, like slammed it in the bathroom, like 10 feet from I was in the bedroom. This was in the upstairs bathroom. They threw a sippy cup really hard against the floor. And this sippy cup was up on the cupboard, like with a ledge that was like protecting it from tipping over. Like this was like, in the timing, I'm like, I'm going to contact the Fae. I'm going to count down from 100. And they're like, well, when this bitch gets to 1, we're going to throw her shit in her bathroom. Like, to me, there's a million stories like that. Like, they're moving things around my house. So, yes, Jim, like, I'm talking about a lot of clairvoyant shit, but like, everything is moving in my house. So, like, I'm not making it up. Okay.
This is what makes you one of my favorite and, preferred fascinating guests, is that you're not just having like one fucking with you, which is like, say my scenario, for example. Pretty sure there's just one main one that's, kind of fucking with me. You've got enough appeal to the Fae as a conduit for their forthcoming from their dimension that like all of them are, I would go so far as to say they're probably like sharing about you on their form of social media. Like, you should go check out this Ruby chick. She can see you. You want to take a spin in the third dimension,
Want to be on her blog? No.
Do you want to be in her weird poetry?
Yeah, no. I think so.
Well, if it all starts with a countdown to 0 and then a physical object, like, kind of trumpeting the success of your induction, it's just so fascinating. Yes. It is so fascinating. And I do think that physical object movement is a form of communication. And I do think that communication is one in which they are primarily saying, I like
Yeah.
you. You get this. We can play together.
Yes.
Haha, watch. Let's have
Yes.
fun. It's so
Yes.
childlike and innocently delightful. And the more you're like curiously fucked up by it, the better they enjoy playing with you. It's just as simple as that, it does seem.
I'm like addicted to it, and I'm like, all right, get in the real world.
Uh,
You know about that.
yeah, I
So
do. Well, okay, so there we go. I've jumped in, I've interjected at least twice. Let's talk about how this portal is from within you and who told you that, please.
yes, okay. So and then we do have to talk about the neighbors. Let's not forget them later, okay? Because it's just too funny. But we'll go to this guy. Okay, so I have had a couple of guides come forward that were like emotionally supporting me, kind of. So the first one, this is not the portal is within you, but I'll just tell it quick because I feel like he came before the other guy. Okay. So I'm a teacher and I had in a staff meeting defended some marginalized students. There was a new rule about the bathroom that was going to affect them and no one cared. And I was like, I just raised my hand and I was like, well, what about like this type of student? And I can't say more out of self-protection. Like, okay, anyway. So nobody had my back. The whole room went silent. It was awkward. I felt like complete shit. Okay. And then I went back to my classroom and just like shed some tears. And I was like, God, like these kids just feel like crap when the adults fail them like this. And like I'm the only one. Like it just made me so sad. Okay. So then that night, this guy, he looks like Legolas. Like I kid you not. He was like tall. He was big and tall. And he had the cheekbones and the pointy ears. His hair was maybe a little darker than that. And then he immediately communicates to me telepathically that he's some sort of knight or prince or king. Like he's regal. And he bowed to me. Like he knelt to me and he was like, and I was like, "Oh, you're bowing to me? Like you seem like you're royalty." And he said, "No, you're a person of honor and nobility. You're very brave. I bow to you. You don't bow to anyone else." And like he was just like it was like I was so humbled. I was almost crying in the vision. And then I see the Three of Cups tarot card, which is these three girls in like Greek outfits cheering like with cups. They're toasting each other. And the message was like, you're a person of nobility. You're very brave for doing that. And the Three of Cups is all about community. He's like, find your allies, find your real allies. There are people around you who do care and like they're out there. And I did find a group of teachers that are allies in that way. So that was very moving. And so for the next couple months when I'm walking into the school, I'm feeling like there's there's an interdimensional team of people that are like, we have your back. Like those moments of quiet bravery. Like I'm like, they care about me. They care about what I'm doing in my classroom. They care about me helping like the kid who gets bullied in those quiet moments that don't make you popular in the state I live in. Yes, they do. And when I walk into that building now, I'm like, dude, I got my Legolas, bro, like walking with me. And I have to walk past some toxic people. And I'm like, I'm uplifted and humbled. Okay. So that was the guide number one. Okay. The other guy, oh my gosh, I'm looking at all these notes right now. Okay. So this was maybe, let's see, do I have the date written down? No. Okay. So I'm again having a vision, and it's like this handsome warrior guy. Okay, he also was like humanoid looking. He looked more like a man though, not like a high elf, like if we're talking Lord of the Rings. Okay. He had dark brown hair and like I can just see him really clear. Uh like a square jaw, kind of a beard, and he was a warrior, but he was like, I'm a creator. Okay, so he just shows up in my vision, and it was like neon pinks and greens, and the song, what's that song by Passion Pit? That's like their number one song. I can't remember what it's called. It was the feeling you get when you listen to that song, like in the, I can't even capture how it felt to be in this guy's energy. It was basically the most pure non-toxic masculine energy like of all time. Like it was he just kept telling me like masculine energy and I was like, okay, like I'm and I was confused by why I was being told this because I'm not that like much of a like everything's in dualities. Like I'm kind of like, well, gender could just be mixes of things, whatever. I don't really, like categorizing everything like that. I'm like, well, who knows? But he was like, he's just started pulling strings out of his own body. Like he was like, I'm a creator. And he did it in the most casual, elegant, like he was dancing kind of way. He was just pulling strings and sort of moving with it, and the strings were becoming a city on a hill, and the hill was made of these morphing animals, and the animals kept changing into different animals and like different trees, and just like they were all dancing to the same beat. And then he kept telling me like personal power, and then he kept pointing at me, and he was like, "This is coming from you." And he was like, "This is the Fae, like, city, and it's all made of one thing. It's everything is made out of one thing, like, consciousness-wise, and it's all coming from inside of you." And he kept pointing at me and being like, "No, you." And I was like, "Me? What?" And then I'm like, he's showing me that the portal is inside of me, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Which is it's like, "Oh my god," and then just pulling these strings, it was like watching one of those, like, when you see somebody making sushi and it's like they're like a master sushi maker and it's like the most beautiful, elegant movements where you're like in awe just watching them and they're like a true master. That's how he was doing it, pulling these strings out, and I kept getting the impression of like a clockmaker or like a train or like a machine of wind-up toys, and then he told me every small thing can connect everything. People can connect. You connect to your power. The one is the many. And then he was like, small things matter. Small things can be done delicately to interconnect the entire world. And he's pulling these strings. And then he was like, good job. Like what we do matters. And then he was like, get up. Like, bro, get up. Like, that feeling of like if you're a little kid and you slip and fall, and then like an uncle or a dad grabs you and they're like, bro, get up. Yeah. Like that was the vibe. And I was like, wow, it was mind blowing to be in this energy. And then this whole thing about strings, I had something come up later where a spider came up, and I'm just laughing because I'm like, a spider pulls strings out of themselves. And I had a spider visit in my classroom that was a fucking fairy, like, and I'm thinking about string theory and about how everything is connected. And then, oh yeah, this was around my birthday. I was so blown away by this and I couldn't forget it. And I was just in awe. I actually woke up and took notes like immediately after the vision in the middle of the night. But, I'm blowing out my birthday candles, and no, I'm not blowing them out. I'm watching my mom light my birthday cake, and the lighter was, like, being, like, silly, and, like, the first candle got lit and the lighter didn't work. So then everybody starts grabbing candles, and they're all lighting each other's candles from the same flame, and as they're doing it, I'm, like, getting full body chills, and I'm like, "Oh my god," like, everything is connected, and like with the Fae, it's like we're all on this show, like we're all lighting each other's candles because there's all these things connecting one guest to another guest. And like I know that the Lynn episode, she talked about how she appeared in her friend's dreams. And when I started writing like Fae inspired poetry, a friend of mine from college who I haven't talked to in 15 years, he like messages me out of the nowhere and he's like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, not to sound weird, but you came to me in a vision and it was like your face and then you turned into a green fairy. And I don't know how to process what I've seen." And I was like, "Hi, it's okay for you to email me that actually." And he had a spiritual awakening from my poem or something. And I'm like, we're lighting each other's fucking birthday candles and everything is connected and everything comes from the same thing. That's it. That was it. And he said his name was Ingvar. His name is Ingvar. Ingour. That word does not exist. There is no Ingvar. And he told me his name multiple times. So that happened. Oh, then Jim, and then I'll let you jump in. He showed up again, but dressed as a raccoon wearing train conductor striped overalls. And he did the same thing with threads, and he was like, ha ha, and he was a cartoon raccoon. Now, what's weird is that I wrote a novel about a imaginary friend of a child that was a raccoon. And I'm also writing a fantasy novel about a train station that's an interdimensional train station. So for this to repeat and to like be like, I am the creator, I'm going to show up dressed as your creation to show you that it's you. And then it comes from inside of you using very personal symbols that only I know. And that is Ingvar.
That was a good one. When you were talking about you as a green fairy, I mean, I got full body goosebumps tip to toe, and I'm deep enough into this process that I know that that happens when someone's talking about a real thing. Also, Lynn in her episode does talk about being bowed to as well. And yes, it's a very standout detail because you can tell that she, rightfully so, struggles to share that part of it because it can immediately sound conceited and delusional. But as you're talking about lighting each other's candles, that immediately also like was a forming connection in my mind between the two episodes that you share. And I think that you and Lynn may have like a very similar experience going on there, that I was able to hear this part of your story before, and I heard Lynn's. And so I've had a chance to reflect on it a lot, and I've been reflecting on recent episodes with Rachel and Jen with their near-death experiences changing and curing their relative conditions. In Rachel's case, a blood type changing and coming back essentially cold turkey, free from medical addiction to anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication at the hands of her doctor. With Jen's case, she has a near-death experience and comes back leukemia-free, to which the doctors say, we did nothing, and this is a miracle. Equally so, the doctors in Rachel's case were perplexed and like not saying this is a miracle, but saying this is not possible and what's going on here, which, I mean, half a dozen of one, six of the other. An impossible occurrence is a miracle, in my opinion. I think the definition of miracle extends a little bit further into it was a positive, unexplainable occurrence. But even a, quote unquote negative unexplainable occurrence could still be a type of miracle in its way. Anyway, let me just get to my point. So why would the Fae be bowing to people? And where does this emerging narrative that somehow they're us really originate? It's not my hypothesis alone. Many people have come forward with either direct communications, visual sightings, or experiences that either directly say this or suggest it, that I am you, this is us, this is we. And so this is where I tentatively am kind of sitting, and I always want to give the caveat, my perspective on this changes just about episode to episode. Not changes, but evolves is my better way to put it. Anyhow, what if the special thing about us is we are like maybe the only dimension that is three-dimensional and so rich with texture, experience, smell, color, taste, blah, 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 blah. The idea that they are going flat and then kind of doing like the Polaroid picture spinning down into a flushing toilet oblivion, disappearing, as a way of understanding like their forthcoming. Is it like that thoughts are things, going back to like what Rachel was saying, but that they largely are existing in a two-dimensional or flatter realm of existence? Is the idea that a fairy is a type of like autonomous thinking energy body coming through us, coming out of us, coming from with. It's so hard to really get your head around it, but I just keep like listening to these touch points, which is that like people like Rachel and Jen who are identifying as potentially encountering their faeness through near-death experience and then having physical changes is not really that different than you having a hat pin disappear in your hand or a plate dematerialize and rematerialize. It's a lesson along the same through line, which is that there, the realness of reality is kind of up for debate, and there is potentially another place from which newness originates. And in the case of like Clyde and the duplicating pill bottle, and then you think about, okay, why would the Fae be bowing to us? What is it that they're trying to show us with all these happenings or events, as you might say? And then I listened to you talking about this creator showing you the way that it all works.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Beatles "Within You, Without You" song. When you listen to it, it's like, well, that was all George Harrison probably, but and I was rambling about my love of good art, and how one time I was with my family, we were watching old school Donald Duck, where this little bee is tormenting Donald Duck because he had it coming. And me and my little twins and my husband were all laughing so hard that it was like tears were like rolling down our faces. And I realized, like, the fairies are here. They're with us right now. I know the vibration. I know how they feel. And when I leave little snacks on the fairy house that I have for them, it's like I get like drunk for a second when I'm looking at them, or like high. I'm like, hee hee hee, like I got you guys these treats, and I can feel them. And it's like I'm feeding off of them and they're feeding off of me. I don't know. Like, and the way that we just like love on each other, we're both gaining energy from it. And like one time, it was the first day of school, the morning of the first day of school. They all showed up in a line and they all kissed. They started kissing me. Like, this first one shows up, kiss me on the cheek. Second one, kiss me on the cheek. Then they were all like sending me off, like, have a good first day of school. And they were all looking at me being like, it's her, hey. And they're like waving. And it was like kind of like if you're at a wedding and you go through to like shake everyone's hand. It was like 50 fucking guys. And it's like we're raising each other's energy. And how in my episode 51, they told me don't use iron because I was scared of the Fae. Like, so I was trying to like protect against them. I was researching that and it was like, put iron around your house. So I was doing that. And then this voice comes to me and it sounds like Welsh, but like going through a computer. And then it translates into English. Don't use iron. Please, please don't use iron. Use silver. And I keep coming back to that. Why? It's the intention. The iron is the way that we know from our folk canon is that it's protect. They don't want me to sever the connection because they're benefiting from it. And so am I, because I basically have astral bodyguards that are with me. And like when that spider, so basically I'll tell you the quick version, which Jim heard the full version, but for my own protection, I can't really tell everything, but I'm a high school teacher and there was an incident of sexual harassment that happened. And I had to have a meeting and I was really anxious about this meeting because I was like, oh God, like here we go. Just it's not good to have your adrenaline jacked up like that in what should be a safe space, like right before Christmas break. I show up to school after having to have a whole day off from how traumatic this was. On my desk, somebody left me a crystal, one of my students. Another kid comes in. I have 7 minutes to get ready for this meeting. And this is normally when I would be like spiraling kind of, and like kind of freaking out a little bit. He walks in right then, starts chatting me up, gives me a Christmas present. Didn't even have to take semester tests that day. He just came and said hi. And as he's talking to me, I realize he's taken my mind off of everything. We turn and look, and he's pointing at the doorway, laughing. And I'm like, what the heck is he laughing about? Because this is a very studious, quiet boy. He's just pointing at something, laughing. And I step away from where I am. I come closer. He's looking at a spider, kind of like a brown, medium-sized spider. He's laughing hysterically at this spider. And then I start laughing. And then I'm like, that's not a fucking spider. Like, did I tell him that? No. I'm like, oh my God, this little thing shows up to like cheer me up right before I have to have the most horrible like meeting ever. Right. And then I remember the strings, pulling the strings out of yourself. And I'm like, bro, Ingvar, love you too. Thank you. Like, oh my God, they show up right when I need them. And they've done other things in my classroom. Like one time there was an assembly and I'm like, all right, everyone, like, don't worry about your phones. Like, I will lock the door. I will be the last one in the room. So stop being paranoid about your phones because they have to leave them like in this thing. So I'm the last one in the room. I make a big deal about it. Lock the door, go to the assembly, come on back into the room, unlock the door. In the center of my desk is a quarter, just placed, just so, just right there in the middle. And if that was the only thing that happened, I would just go, whatever. But then my coworker, she's heard a few of my stories. Like she's a little bit magically inclined, but she doesn't know the full thing. But I told her a few of my experiences. She started having shit happen in her classroom. She lost her keys, couldn't find them all day. And then she finds them in the center of the doorway, right in the middle of the threshold of her classroom.
Why do they put things right in the middle? Why do they do that? They do.
Because they're like, we love you. Boop.
I don't know if they have like a slight OCD and so they're just being ultra symmetrical, or if it's like
a signaling thing.
I think it's part of the message. The center placement is part of the message. The returning
They're
object
like, "It was
is
me."
in and of itself the bigger part of the message, but it's nuanced and punctuated by center placement. It can be the center
Yes.
of the doorway, the center of the room, the center of the desk. They like them very fucking middle.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, they're actually like a really funny bunch of fucking dudes. Like,
I love them so much.
I'm first of all, I'm in awe of you on a real level, and I'm like low-key jelly because here I am still like banging my head against the wall, like, are these things fucking real? Like, what am I doing with my life? And
I'm getting kissed and getting quarters.
you've gone from like, I'm terrified of this thing to like, now I'm like having flirty dad relations with the neighbors.
Oh, yeah. The flirty dad.
Yeah, let's talk about the neighbors and the flirty dad. Don't think I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, I know. I can't forget. Well, I need to give him another twin bang. Okay, because I'm from Sioux City, Iowa. Anyway, okay, so I was homesick this fall and was laying on the couch and I heard the worst sound in the world, which is chainsaws. And I'm like, oh no, they're cutting down a tree. Oh my God. It was horrible. And I just listened to it and I was like, "Meow," and I remember that episode where you said like the blackberry bush or something was like cut down and they need to be given 30 days notice. And I know the trees have shit in them. Like I've talked to trees. We could talk for 7 hours about that. So what do I do? In my pajamas, I go on the front steps. I see just these city workers chainsawing 2 trees. And I just started like muttering to myself quietly under my breath so that they didn't hear me. I'm like, hey, I'm Ruby. Cause it was the across the street neighbors. I live over here, I can see you guys, here's the deal. I kind of gave him the backstory of what's all been going on in my house. And I'm like, as long as you pass the vibe check, you are welcome to come on my property if you are unhoused from this. And we're really cool over here. Like, you're welcome to come. And I went back and laid back on the couch. Well, that night, I come to, wake up, roll over in bed, close my eyes again, and I see this is what's getting me. 90% of the time when I see fairies, they're jumping for joy, giggling, laughing, showing off all their morphing abilities. These people were stressed out. They were dragging their shit. They had luggage. They had suitcases. There was the dad. The dad was like jacked. He had like a inverse triangle shaped body. Like he looked like an old 1800s bodybuilder with a mustache. Like it was ridiculous. And then the mom looked like the Brian Froud, like kind of spooky looking, like gorgeous, otherworldly pixie girl. No wings. Never seen any wings on anybody. Then there's a little girl. The little girl has like a triangle shaped dress, like a 1950s kind of short skirt thing, which to me, I would never clock fairies to be wearing that. So that was weird for me. I was like, wow, interesting detail. Makes me think it's real. And there was a toddler slash baby. And the little girl, like they had like a dog. It was a schnauzer. And okay. And she's like she jumps on it and rides it. And then there's another creature like a bear, and it has a tail like a lemur with like stripes on it. And so then they basically, dad turns, puts the suitcase on his head, and then he turns and he kind of, as they're leaving, like I can see where they're going. As they're leaving, he turns and looks, and he gives me this look on his face, kind of like, you said we could live here, right? And I was like, yeah, hey, yeah, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And then when I woke up, I was like, I know where they are in my yard. Like there are these bushes, and I swear I know where they are. So then a couple weeks later, the I was at the grocery store and I'm like, they wanted chocolate. So I was like, well, I'm not going to give them like Nestle chocolate. Like I'm going to do something a little more ethical than that. And I settled on a Twin Bing candy bar, which is like our local candy. So, and they said they wanted it. So it's like this cherry nougat candy with like peanuts on the outside and chocolate. So I'm like, oh, really? You guys want this? It's kind of gross. Like, okay. So I buy it, I bring it home, I put it on the shelf. And then that night, the dad shows up, but he's like sitting across the table from me, like full size, and he's looking down at it. And then he looks up at me and I can see his mustache like really clear. And then he's like, um, well, hey, darling, thanks for the treat. Like he has like an accent like between Southern and like transatlantic, if that makes sense. And he was like kind of flirting with me. And I was just like laughing, being like, what? And then the baby of the neighbors, the baby loves me. She shows up all the time and is like sitting on my lap, giggling, laughing all the time. And then this was crazy. So my sister-in-law was in labor for like 2 or 3 days, to the point where I was like sweating. I was like, this is scary. Like, this is way too long to be in labor. Of course, I'm teaching. So I was getting like nervous and stuff. And during fourth period at the end of the day, I'm like, I need to know like what's going on. I need to know. Oh, that morning, the baby appeared to me. And that I thought that's a good sign. A baby, when a baby's supposed to be born, that seems positive, right? So then um I'm in my classroom and I hear somebody say, oh, that's Mrs. So and so's classroom, she teaches mythology. So then I heard my name, so I opened the door and I go, that's me. And I look down and there's a baby standing there looking up at me. Somebody had gone to take a tour of the school and brought their baby, and I'm literally looking face to face at a real baby. And then my sister-in-law's baby is born like an hour later. And I just thought, the timing of that, they made sure that that baby was on my stoop right when I needed it.
Yeah, they
So,
did. There's no limit
yeah.
to the amount of occurrences in a human being's life that is in contact with the Fae that is not somehow influenced by their ability to muck with time.
Yeah. They can like just we she needs a sign right now. Here it is.
Who are these people? Because they're so like tra
I
la la la
know.
la, like kind of innocent and maybe even at first contemplation a little dopey, and but at the same time they're clearly like the
Like, yeah.
architects of the space-time continuum.
But then they were like, we're unhoused from the tree and we're stressed out and we're lugging our suitcase. And I'm like, you guys are people.
That's why I think they're like us, because I just think like
Yeah.
it's not it's not that different perhaps to live the life of a fairy than it is to live the life of a human, save for they don't question their abilities and we do.
Well, okay, Jim, I got to tell you this last thing because it just happened. Um, and then I have to go because I have toddlers. But like, I didn't even get through my 7 pages of notes or whatever. So, but okay, so I became friends with my horned guy from episode 51. He became my familiar. There's a whole story about a hagstone that I don't think I have time for right now, but I know what he looks like. And I've seen him in multiple forms. He looks like Peter Pan, but he also can become smaller and be more cartoonish kind of. But anyway, so after all of this, trying to schedule this podcast with you, and it's been delayed so many times, it's been so weird. It's like they don't want the truth to get out, right? So I'm getting visited by these beings and they're basically accosting me, like they're introducing themselves, they're telling me their name, and then they were like, "Do you want to work together?" That's what's happening to me now. So like the other day, I'm laying in bed, I roll over, do the whole thing. I see this guy. He's kind of scary. Like he has horns too, but he like kind of looked like a demon. Like, but I don't think he's actually a demon. Like I don't know if I believe in that. But he was like scarier. And then he kind of started like sneering at me to see if I would get scared. And then I was like, you're trying to see if I'm scared, aren't you? Like, I started talking, and then I saw his horns, and then he was like, I know that you want to work on your power, your personal power. That's like my goal for 2026 is personal power, like what the creator showed me. But for me, it's about responsibility. It's about owning up to my shit, facing my own bullshit, taking responsibility. But he was like, hey, personal power. And he kind of tried to like work with me. He was like, personal power, I can help you with that. And then I look at his horns and I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to be judgy because I don't know anything about that. And I was obviously wrong about my little friend from season 1. Horns don't mean anything about intentions and stuff, right? But I still got nervous and I just said like, you're just like adorable. Like, I think you're just so cute. And then he sort of faded away. So then I wake up and I'm like, who was that guy? What? And I'm like, what was that? Like, I don't necessarily believe in like demons and stuff, but I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm a lighthouse and these things come and they want to work with me. And I'm like, well, what does he have to gain from working with me? Like, I got suspicious. Then I started pulling like my tarot cards and my oracle deck. I have an oracle deck I made. I wrote like the messages on the cards. So I'm asking my guides after I laid protection down, who was that being? And then they were like, the reverse fool, which means that I don't trust him. 3 of Cups, which is again about community and support. And the Oracle card, create your own reality, comes up. And I'm like, this guy wants to teach me how to like manifest my own reality using like the strings. And I'm like, I'm still kind of like freaked out because looked a little scary. And so I'm like, I'm not just going to say yes to every being that shows up, but I'm trying not to be judgy either. And that's like where I'm at. Because I'm like, why is it taking so many weeks for this podcast to get made? What does and doesn't want these messages to get out? And is there some sort of spiritual battle going on for light versus dark? If somebody comes to me and says they have a shortcut for personal power, that sounds not good to me. I'm like, I think there has to be some hard work involved because you think about like the kind of sages that we respect, like it's those old monks that are like, working really hard. It's not just someone taking the easy way out. And so my intuition is telling me, yeah, I'm like, I don't think so, buddy. Like, you're cute though with your horns. So I don't know, but that just happened. And again, I don't subscribe to that angels and demons are these categories like in the Bible. Like, I think angels could be these interdimensional super beings of light. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who these people are. But I'm like, I have to say no to some of them. You know, it's been wild. But I got so many more notes. So, yeah, it's just finding the time to talk about it.
I'll tell you what. I know you have to go because you've got your twins, and of all the like many trippy details about you, the fact that you have twins is up there on that list.
Oh, I got stories about that too.
And there's lots we could unpack, truly. And I know that the brief on some of your other stories, and I am only slightly remiss that we can't fit them in, slightly only because we'll have you back, of course. So I'll tell you what, here's how we'll wrap things up today. I'll ask my favorite going away question, and it's a good time to ask you this question again because I can tell you that your perspective has definitely changed since conversation 1 to conversation 2 here. But for everyone listening, there's definitely no right or wrong answer to this question. Ruby, you know what's coming. What do you think fairies are?
Oh, wow. I think that they are higher intelligent beings of light and of energy, and that they can see more than we can see, but that they depend on us to take action, that what we do in this level of existence affects them in some way. And they're currently looking for safe people. And I was telling my husband, I'm like, they like you. They see you adopting an elderly dog, feeding the birds and squirrels. They like you. And they're looking for safe people that they can approach. And when you're somebody like me who just opened the door, that they're coming in and it's like, what do they want? That's what I don't know. And What other types of beings are there out there? What is there a conflict going on and they need us? I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I'm never going to know. And I want to know so bad. So I'm never going to stop looking at them.
Okay, and I don't do this at all usually, but I'll just feed this one back to you for shits and giggles here. What if you are a fairy, Ruby? What if your dream, perceived by your friend, where you turn into a green fairy, is true? And what if the supposition that they are us and we are them is as simple of understanding as that, at least for some of us, we are in fact them? And that somehow there's a waking up of the tribe. I think Rachel said it really well. Your vibe will attract your tribe. And maybe she's right, that somehow there's it's weirdly like the movie The Matrix, where Neo realizes that it's all an illusion, and then there's kind of like a red pill, blue pill, and then you get free from the illusion. And as you actually follow the trajectory of that whole movie series, it ends kind of in another parable, which is that, is it all illusion, all of it, which is in and of itself kind of in a, you know, I think a direct maybe proxy for what the whole situation is here. But what if Lynn's a fairy? What if Danielle's a fairy? What if, you know, 101 people, Hannah, like, what if actually what is real is that we're all just a bunch of fucking, like, you know, like in the Manchurian Candidate, right? That movie is all about an assassin who doesn't know that he is an assassin.
Oh yeah.
He has been brainwashed and programmed by a secret government program to be activated as an assassin, unbeknownst to even himself, which gives him the perfect cover.
Just like Zoolander.
Yeah, what if we're all just a bunch of Fae Manchurian candidates and we're just getting, like, activated?
Well, and that's the thing, is that when are you compelled to do something and you're like, why am I doing this? Why are you doing it? You know?
You in particular, I'm just going to kind of not let you dodge this one. So disappearing hat pins, the plates, the degree
a
of
disappearing
etheric
bug
vision,
that I'll tell you next time.
the vision that your friend has of you in his dream. I don't know. If there's ever a person who makes me wonder, are we all just a pack of fae? At least some of us. Because maybe there's a kind of, and this is not to like assign that being a fae is in any way superior to being a human, but what if there is kind of like two different?
They're jealous of our angst, Jim. And they have their own angst too, but the human angst, they're so fascinated by it. And I don't know why I know that. But like they want you to put it in your art. And when you do, they're like, yeah. Like, what? Ugh, like that feeling when you hear a sad song and then you feel sad and you feel good that you're sad. They're with you and they're in that. And they need us to do that so that they can be like, now we're going to do with it.
The architecture of my episodes goes like this. Establish curiosity and wonder right off the onset. Bring in the chorus of voices all saying they saw a thing.
Yep.
Transition into quickly allowing another guest to, you know, blow everyone's mind. And at the end, don't let ever anybody forget that this is not just all fun, because you can end up singing sad songs.
Protection.
You know, And that kind of really is made manifest in your trajectory and your experiences. And I'm just so appreciative that you wanted to come back. I appreciate so much that like you're going places with it, because I think that's also really valuable for people to hear. It's not just stationary, I think.
No, it's a never-ending journey of co-creation. And so I would be delighted to come back again, because I have so much more that I'm collecting, and I am also doing it for science and also for magic, because magic is a science that we don't know yet. And I'm like, I wish everybody could know their own personal power, like, so bad. It just kills me. It's what gets me out of bed every morning as a teacher. And these kids have no idea what their teacher is doing. Oh my God. Anyway.
It's really scary, because I think Nelson Mandela, I'm going to paraphrase this poorly, but he said it's our light that scares us the most, not our darkness. And maybe that is deeply, deeply true on a level that wrestling with is terrifying, to realize that maybe you are like a godlike co-creator of all, and that thoughts are things, and that what you hold inside yourself ultimately becomes what is. And that is just like too much to wrestle with, because it's a lot easier to think that this is all happening to me rather than.
But it's like what we do matters.
Yeah.
Like small things matter. A teacher talked to me the day after I saw that creator guy and he said small things matter. She said small things matter. And I almost shit myself. I was like, yes, they do. And I walked right over to her and we talked about it. The little things you do matter, with a student, with a friend, that, you know. And I just was like, oh my God, like I can't believe she just said that the day after this guy told me that. And it's like those little moments of courage and kindness where you feel invisible and you're like, what am I even doing? That's it. That's what it's all about. And they need us to keep doing it. And we have to keep like lighting other people's candles, you know, and that every time you do it, you are. And I was like, I have to come on the show to say this. And then I kept having a broken foot and a cold and bad luck. And I'm like, what the hell is trying to stop me? Like, so yeah, that's, I think, probably my last word. Go do something kind, you know?
And your episode was deleted accidentally by the same
Yes,
forces. So, I mean,
yes.
it's really been delayed, but we got it in under the wire just before the end of 2025.
Yeah.
And I got to say,
Yeah.
you know, because I haven't had a chance to really like, give you my compliment sandwich, which is customary for me and my guests. You're an extremely fun and very deeply intriguing person to talk to. I really,
thank
really
you.
like talking with you. And I appreciate, how much you message me as these things unfold. I actually, just should take a second and say to all the people who message me, I appreciate all of you messaging me, and I apologize if I'm ever delayed in responding. I just have a lot of messages coming in some days.
I'm sure you do. I'm just like, I have to have a log of these events to keep track of it.
Honestly, it's a great way to do it. And then if you ever decide as a person listening to come on the show, we can refer back to our thread. Like look at Hannah, like she was sharing awesome audio clips as stuff was unfolding, and that really enhanced the show. And so, please, I don't say this enough, probably because I just am recently really starting to understand it. I think the show is better with more dialogue and voices. So if you ever want to shoot me like small audio clips that I might want to weave into intros and stuff of stuff that just happened.
Oh yeah, I like your fun intros.
Yeah, I kind of miss doing them, and it takes, people sending me audio clips of the strange shit going down for me to have the stuff to work with. So if you're listening to the show and like some weird thing happens that seems like it was because you were listening to the show, shoot me a little voice clip about it. You can just send me an email or send me a DM on any social. Actually, that's a good transition point. I'm going to do my sign off. Would you just hesitate for a moment while I allow you to think about your last words?
Yes. Thank you.
Well, Ruby, not enough time in the world to talk to somebody like you. That's the only reason we're winding up. For everybody listening tonight, you've been listening to Fascinating Fae. I'm your host, Jim. As I was just saying, if you want to kind of contact me and come on the show in any capacity, just look up Fascinating Fae on all of the socials, and the email address is encounters@fascinatingfae.com. I would say this, of course, because it's what comes next, which is that on behalf of all of our human and non-human listeners, super big thanks to Ruby from Iowa for coming back on the show. Ruby, thanks a lot for being here. I really appreciate it again.
Thank you. And I guess my last word is what you do matters, and like they see you. And when you do something kind of that comes to you out of nowhere, that's an act of kindness or courage, like that's what it's all about. They see you. If you feel like you're doing that and that you're getting no recognition, no, you are. Like, keep doing what you're doing, because it's the most important thing in the world.
Do you know the man that lives by the river? He's got a message to deliver. He runs with the breeze and grows papaya trees. They call this man the giver. His wisdom stretches far and wide. He's older than the rising tide. Take an inquiry or a prophecy, an answer he'll provide. Although he's old, he's just begun. Seen more in his life than the eyes of the sun. He'll forever live and forever give. The giver is the one. And take your mind and soul combined and use them right, he'd say. Every day take thoughts of disarray and watch them sail away. As tomorrows turn into todays, you will find a way. And all things in life are here to stay. I used to wonder what my life was for. Always fighting and in a war. Depression, aggression, and too many sessions. I knew there must be more. I searched far and wide to find my answer. I found it deep in the Tropic of Cancer. I went up the river and met the giver and discovered he's a life enhancer. He said my coming was long overdue. He opened my mind and searched it through and through. Was my soul whole, my potential full? The giver only knew. Take your mind and soul combined and use them right, he'd say. Every day take thoughts of disarray and watch them sail away. As tomorrows turn into todays, you will find a way. And all things in life are here to stay. So practice what you preach, preach what you believe. It's entirely up to you, the thoughts that you conceive. You gotta keep your inner fire. Don't let yourself tire. And let your mind travel to the place that you desire. And take your mind and soul combined and use them right, he'd say. Every day take thoughts of disarray and watch them sail away. As tomorrows turn into todays, you will find a way. And all things in life are here to stay.
Hey, I thought you'd think this was funny. My daughter I gave her a fairy house for her Christmas present, and I was at the craft store on my lunch break, and I grabbed a little fairy miniature to give her. And then I was like, oh, I need some ink for my stamps. So I grabbed some ink, and I was like, I'm not going to use black. I want it to show up on the page. Don't want it to be red. So I grabbed the purple ink. And as I'm walking to the checkout, I noticed the name of the ink shade is called Petunia. And I noticed that the packaging on here, it says Pixie. And I almost shit myself in the craft store. And I was like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Like, I gotta tell Jim that Petunia's saying hi. So anyway, she says hi.